Good afternoon, happy Sunday, welcome back to Color Outside the Lines. Today we're going to be discussing about how to prepare a budget to live wealthy. What I mean by that is you don't need to overspend. You don't need to rent that luxury apartment. You don't need to buy that biggest house. What you want to do is live very cheap as far as for maybe just renting a room, you and your significant other. That way your monthly bills is really cheap. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to stack up all that money and then start investing in your own assets. Start buying your own rental properties, start investing in gold, etc. There's no need to be renting out these luxury apartments that are built everywhere. They don't need you. You don't need to rent it. They need you to rent it. So just keep that in mind. As far as for it goes, do this about 5 years, stack up as much money as possible, and then start making moves. That is like the best advice I could give you guys. Is I see a lot of people just spending money wild, spending money crazy, spending more than 50% of their paycheck renting out these luxury apartments. Like I said, they need you to rent it. You don't need to rent it. So like I would suggest, find cheaper options as far as for renting out a room, as far as for maybe staying in an RV for X amount of time. There's multiple different scenarios you could do. I even see some people living in storage units, some people renting out small office spaces. I honestly suggest keeping your bills very low so that way you could stack up all that money and then go ahead and buy your own assets as far as for rental properties, etc. That is like one of the best moves that you could do. But what a lot of people do is they like to spend their money, okay? They like to go ahead and rent out that luxury apartment, spending $2,000 a month, comes out to $24,000, $25,000 a year. That is unnecessary. You do not have to do that, especially if you're just renting because you don't even own it. You're just pretty much paying somebody to stay there. All this overpriced money that you don't need to. Like I said, they need you to rent the stuff. You don't need to rent the stuff. Okay. I understand having nice things is good, but how would it feel about just living very low for like about 4 or 5 years and then taking all that money and going buying up your own assets? As far as for rental properties, as far as for gold, pretty much any asset, Bitcoin, some people like. That is what I honestly recommend. Because like I said, everyone's just trying to get your money. So you got to just spend smart, budget. That is something that I could recommend to you. Like I said, you don't have to do it forever. You just have to do it for a short amount of time, just so that way you and your significant other or yourself could go ahead and stack money. Unless you just want to do that in regardless, because I know some people they live very low below their means, but they have $200,000, $300,000 in the bank at all times cash. What would you rather have? That luxury apartment that you could barely afford, or would you want to have $200,000, $300,000 in cash? You know, if not more. Because like let's say if you make let's say 100,000, right? If you do that little budget that I talked about for like 4 or 5 years, is live underneath your means, you could save almost all that money, which is amazing. I know some people who are living very cheap, but they make really good money and they are just saving all that money and investing in assets that they like. Or, they want to retire a little bit early. Another thing you could do is just don't have kids. I know all the reports are saying, oh, have kids, etc. I know if you really want kids, go ahead and have the kids. But I will tell you what, kids are very expensive. I saw this one thing, it was like the average of a kid from when they're first born to 18 is going to be anywhere from $250,000 to $285,000. So that way you could take care of them. So like I said, try to avoid kids. You don't need kids. Like I said, the average is anywhere from 250,000 to 285,000. So just keep that part in mind. Also, what you want to do is with this housing market the way it is, you just want to make sure you have as much cash as possible, just in case an emergency, etc. And like, let's say if the market does crash, what are you going to want? You're going to want all this cash, so that way you're going to be ready to buy up all these assets. So that is going to be the tip of the day. That is going to be my Sunday tip of the day. So yeah, so just keep in mind, it's not what you make, it's what you keep, and budget smart, because if you budget smart, you can actually become very wealthy. Thank you for your time, and until next video, have a great day.